We asked the big question, TNA or WWE? Where did Kurt Angle have the better career? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. Kurt Angle, what a legend. Undoubtedly one of the best wrestlers of all time. Arguably the best technical wrestler to ever do it. This guy put on countless great matches, whether it be in WWE or whether it be in TNA. But we put a poll up to see what you guys thought. Did you prefer his run in WWE, or did you prefer his run in TNA? And after 172 votes, we have came to the conclusion that Kurt Angle, according to 81% of you people, had a better run in World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, TNA, Total Non-Stop Action, got 19% of the vote. And my first thoughts on this is extremely harsh, because as much as I loved Kurt Angle's run in WWE, he had an epic run also in TNA. I think if you look at everyone that worked for both companies, Angle has had the best two runs combined, and nobody really comes close, in my opinion. Nobody comes close when you think about it. Kurt Angle had a top-tier run in WWE and a top-tier run in TNA. But the reason we asked the question is because Angle was doing an interview recently. He was asked about both of his runs, and he said he had a better run in TNA. He was talking about the drug rehab that he refused to go to. He left WWE in 2006. He later debuted for TNA Wrestling later that year. And Kurt said he took more risks, etc., in TNA, and believed that he went harder in TNA. That's what Kurt had to say on the topic. Quote, "I put everything on the line in TNA wrestling, you know. I had a better career in TNA than I did in WWE, which is hard for me to say, but I took a lot more chances in TNA. Look, you can't deny it. He did. And I'm not saying he had a better career, but he put his body on the line in TNA. He was putting on banger after banger after banger. He was taking risks that we haven't really seen Angle take in WWE. Yeah, Kurt Angle would do the moonsault off the top of the cage. He would do epic stuff in WWE, but in TNA, it's like literally every single night, he was trying to do stuff. He was trying to outdo himself. He was the first real guy to collect belts. I remember one night he showed up on TNA and he had about 10 million belts over his shoulder. I mean, the guy was just fucking phenomenal. He came in like a badass. He headbutted Samoa Joe. He ended the Samoan submission winning streak. He was the world champ. I would say from like 06 to 09, no one could really touch him. He was undeniably the top guy. He was TNA's John Cena in that period. Now, you could argue that in WWE, he was treated as a top guy and never the guy, whereas in TNA, like I said, for that 3-year period, he was undoubtedly head and shoulders above everyone else. But there's also a shitload of great moments in WWE that I can't personally overlook. So while I would say it is extremely close, I will give my answer at the end of the video, but I think it's neck and neck. But there's one company that I would just put ahead of the other. Is it WWE or is it TNA? I'll tell you in a few moments. But first, let's go to the comments. Let's see what you guys thought. Caesar Cante said, "This is really tough because he was just as decorated in TNA as he was in WWE. I mean, I believe he was the very first ever belt collector in pro wrestling before Kenny Omega. I mean, yeah, look, forget about Kenny Omega's belts. Kenny Omega's belts don't matter. Kurt Angle, the belts that Kurt Angle had, they are the ones that mattered. Hell, the belt that Kurt Angle used in Main Event Mafia to hold up his trousers, that belt was better than any belt that Kenny Omega's had. Kurt Angle was the fucking man. Whether it was the TNA Tag Team title, the TNA World title, a bunch of belts from Japan or AAA or whatever. It didn't matter what belts Angle had. He made them legendary. So yeah, he was the man. He was the top man in TNA, no doubt about it. Jeff QD3JY said, "Perk Angle was on another planet. Yeah, there was a lot of great moments in WWE, but he was the top dog in TNA and putting on classics every week. Yeah, you can't deny this. He had an amazing run in WWE. He did, but he was never the top guy in WWE. He was the top guy non-stop for 3 years in TNA, and he showed it every single week. The guy was putting on quality matches, like fucking epic matches every time he stepped through the ropes. And Laura King said WWE. So it looks like we've got one here for TNA, one for WWE, and one sitting on the fence. That's what I'm getting from this. Okay, moving on to my opinion. Where did I prefer Kurt Angle? Where did I prefer him? TNA or WWE? Look, there's no doubt in TNA he was putting on great matches. You can certainly argue he had better matches and more of them in TNA than he did in WWE. When you actually look at his TNA run, if you don't count his second WWE run, his return, when he was like out of shape and just not what he once was, he had a longer run in TNA. Now, I get towards the end of it, it wasn't that good. I'm not going to pretend that it was. I think Kurt Angle, once he got to like 2013, his run in TNA did begin to sour. It wasn't as good. But I believe overall he had like 8 years in TNA. Maybe 8.5 compared to what? The 7 years? 6.5 years that he had in WWE. So he did have a longer TNA career. We can argue that he put on better matches in TNA. He was part of the Main Event Mafia, which was an incredible stable. I don't think the Main Event Mafia gets enough credit. We talk about massive stables. People talk about Evolution. I think the Main Event Mafia was kind of similar to Evolution, albeit there was no evolution in terms of promoting the new guy and building from within. But if you compare top stables, I would say that probably the Main Event Mafia is the best stable to come out of TNA. It was a stable full of world champions, and Kurt Angle was the head of it. He was the leader. You can't deny it. Look, Angle had amazing matches with Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, you name it, he had it. I'm not taking that away from him, but I just think Kurt Angle, the run that he had in WWE, the reason why I would say his WWE run was better than TNA is because, quite simply, he was a part of the 2 greatest eras in wrestling ever. First of all, the Attitude Era, and then the Ruthless Aggression Era. Plus, in WWE, we got to see 2 sides of Kurt Angle. We never really got that in TNA. TNA, we got Kurt, and the Kurt that we got was fucking great, and I'm not denying that. But in WWE, we almost got 2 different Kurt Angles. We got the comedy Kurt Angle, you know, the chicken heel Kurt Angle, the Kurt Angle that would kiss McMahon's ass, the Kurt Angle that did all the comedy stuff. We got that Kurt Angle, and then as we went into the Ruthless Aggression Era and Kurt Angle lost all his hair, I think he lost his marbles as well, because then we got the fucking badass Kurt Angle, the wrestling machine Angle, the Angle that went on to dominate SmackDown and become world champion. We went from the comedic Kurt Angle, the man that was laughing, the guy that was the butt of the jokes, and then we went to a Kurt Angle that was just a fucking wrestling machine. He literally just fucking put on classics as well. And I mean, from Michaels to Benoit to Brock, this guy, every time he stepped in the ring, he had great matches. So look, I can't take away his TNA run. Both of these runs are A+, by the way, and no one can fucking deny it. Both of these are quality runs. People could only wish to have runs as good as this in either company, but I am going to have to go with WWE just because the pure fact that he was a part of the 2 greatest eras, and I think he offered us more, because he essentially did have 2 different characters almost. The difference between Kurt Angle, when he finally accepts being bald and he goes from the goofy comedy guy to the wrestling machine, it was just a massive difference, and it's almost like we got 2 different Kurt Angles, whereas in TNA, we only really got one. It was a great one, don't get me wrong, but it was just one. And I mean, TNA, again, by the time we get into like 2012-13, TNA was on the downslide. Kurt Angle's career was also on the downslide. But I mean, we can't deny him. From like, I think 06 to 09, phenomenal. I'd say in terms of performances in the ring, that's his best run of matches. 06 to 09, those 3 years, Kurt Angle in the ring was fucking tremendous. There's no doubt about it, guys. Both runs were great. You're entitled to believe WWE. You're entitled to believe TNA. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I really don't, because both runs were absolutely quality. But in my personal opinion, I'll give the edge to WWE. Anyway, that's it, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Kurt Angle, what a fucking legend. What a career he had. Definitely one of the GOATs. Definitely one of the best to ever do this. And I love myself some Kurt Angle. I've got both the WWE Universe and Network and the TNA Impact Network, so I can watch Kurt whenever I want. So good news for me. Anyway, guys, catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.